It's time for Class Racing Today, the podcast for the NHRA class racing fan. Welcome back to Class Racing Today, classracingtoday.com. Email classracingtoday@gmail.com. This is episode 45 of the Class Racing Today podcast. And don't forget, you can help support the show. If you go to classracingtoday.com, you can click the donate button and join a few people who have started that process of making this show better by helping to support it with their dollars. Thank you to Brett Sarbaugh and Mike Cotton for their donations as we've started this process. Also, we want to thank Kenwood Welding and Metallizing in Baltimore, Maryland. Kenwood Welding and Metallizing has been offering quality welding services for all processes and all materials since 1932. Brian, it's almost Christmas.
It is.
What's happening?
Oh, just getting ready for the holidays. Little snow on the ground. I don't like it, but we live here and I don't like heat and I don't really like humidity. So, hey, I like the seasons. It's all right. Bobby, what are you asking Santa for, Bobby?
Oh, hold on. Wait, just a second. Say that again. We missed it. Say it again.
I'm wishing for my guest to build me an engine and have it delivered right, sneak it through the chimney, wrapped in a bow, little note card that says, add some weight.
Well, it'll go
150 under.
You got a horsepower reduction. You can't be complaining. That was what you got.
I sure did. That's what happens when you struggle like that.
So I'm enjoying all the...
Actually, I didn't get it. I didn't run that combo this year. So somebody else got it for me.
I'm enjoying all the comments on that, on the post. And thanks for everybody for being part of that. It's pretty entertaining on the automatic horsepower deal. I still think the best thing to do, let's get rid of the 120, 130 thing. Just get rid of the whole system. Leave mineshaft in there. Take the top 10 fastest runs from each combo twice a year. Review it. If you're over 90, it gets horsepower. If you're under 70, it gets reduced. Boom. Simple.
Simple. Did you suggest that on the on that thread the other day? There was a thread out there. There was an argument, or people were bouncing ideas for like 12 straight hours, and then NHRA made a change last night that I don't think anybody proposed that idea, but that's the one that they went with, where the new mineshaft rule in stock is the first car in the second half of the field has to be 95 under for it to be considered a mineshaft. Super stock remains 85 under.
Yeah, I think, and then you just qualify an extra 10 cars more than they're going to let in. Get rid of, I don't know, who cares how fast you go. Let's go wide open all the time. Let's have fun.
Well, that was also, remember I presented that to Lonnie the other day. However, there is a caveat to that also. Cars that are slower, I qualified dead last at the Nationals at Maple Grove in stock, going about 4 under or whatever it was. They say that the slower cars won't even enter, and then the car counts, if you take 80 and qualify 64, say you won't have the car count anyway. But I don't know. I probably would still enter and just try to get lucky or just see what happens. Ice it, oil it, and see if I can get in.
Well, the difference, too, is the horsepower is actually going to be effective. The cars that are way underrated are going to get more horsepower. The cars that are overrated are going to get reduced, and it's going to average itself out, too.
Yeah, well, the main idea was to entice people to go fast. There is no incentive to go fast right now. There's no money for setting records. There's really not much money for winning class. There's no points, which I think there should be points for winning class, points for top qualifiers. Incentivize going fast and try to, I don't know, get more heads ups. I guess that would require more running of class at certain events, but that's a story for another time.
Here in D5, let's just give grade points to the number 1 qualifier. An extra grade point. Which is really all the incentive you would need, because that's going to save you like, what, $1,000? Pretty good incentive to go fast.
Well, I heard of a few little perks that Lucas Oil is going to start doing, but we're waiting for that big announcement January 1st or after the new year. I believe they're going to make an announcement that's going to help benefit sportsman racing with a little bit better payouts and we will. That's all I'm at liberty to say right now.
It
So
it
thank
sure
you.
seems like there's been a lot of good changes since we started this podcast, Bobby.
Yeah, it changes my bad luck into good luck. And I won a national event. What else happened?
Well, the mine shaft changes. We're bringing more money in from Lucas Oil. Like, we're the driving factor of unifying. We're like the super stock union.
Yeah, you're right. I'll take that. I
File
like
your
that. Take
complaints
credit
with
for this.
the team leaders, and we'll put it in front of people that know. And look, changes are happening.
I guess we can take credit for that. You're right. You're right. We can also credit the podcast for helping us meet famous people like our guest today.
You know, I've heard a lot of good things about this guy, but never actually met him. But when I was at Brainerd, he was all the talk. So I'm excited.
Was it good talk or bad talk?
Well, you never know when you're in the Holtz pit, but I thought it was all pretty good.
Then it had to be good. The Holtz, they are quite a family, and I do believe that this gentleman provides them with some power. So let's introduce him and waste no time. We are talking about our now 5-time NHRA world champion. He just decided to race this year and win. So he hasn't won a championship since 1994. I was about 10 years old, 11 actually, and now he's showed his dominance this year. He shows how fast he can go, and on top of all that, he's like a heck of a nice guy. So let's give it up for Greg Stanfield. Greg, how you doing?
Doing good, Bobby. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thank you for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it. And tell Aaron Stanfield we appreciate him setting you up there with the computers and iPhones and microphones and pads and etc.
He takes care of all the computer stuff for me, for this old guy.
So, Greg, you had a tremendous year this year. You came out firing. You got in your car that you guys call what, old red or something
Old
like
red.
that.
Yep, yes, sir.
Old red.
Yep,
And that's an '87 Camaro.
correct.
And what engine? What combo were you running in that car?
I'll have to ask Jeff Dona on that. I just drive it.
All right.
It's a flat top 350, Bobby. I think it's like maybe a 90 model that we claim. Jeff Dona is really involved in our super stock racing. Once I got out of super stock and went pro stock truck and pro stock, I kind of got away from what was going on. And when I came back, I was like overwhelmed with like you're saying, the horsepower and the indexing and all the different classes. So back when I run, everybody had a carburetor on, and there's about 4 or 5 combinations, and that was it. And when I come back, it was like, holy cow, look at this, just a lot of different combinations. So Jeff, I built Jeff's engines, from back in the 90s. So I continue my relationship with him. And when I bought my car back, I wanted to restore it for Aaron. And I just give it to Jeff and said, hey, Jeff, I said, help me out here because it's way past me on what's, today's standards on everybody's combinations. So Jeff's been a big support on that.
All right. So for your 90 Camaro, or you run that 90, I think that's like what, the L98 combo or something that they all say. I do believe it's got hit with horsepower. You were going pretty fast. You were qualifying number 1, when it suited you, which any smart person would do if you can get that first round bye, right?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that. If you can, if you're trying to chase the win, at the particular time. And everybody today, Bobby, as you know, they're extremely well. I mean, everybody has great equipment, and any run, you can lose. So your window of opportunity is small in today's time. So I've always, if there's a chance where I can get myself on a ladder on the side where there's a possible buy run to get, a round under my belt, because, sometimes you don't run the whole race in one day. So there is a lot of first rounds that you have to race, whether it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whatever the days are. So I think that's a big help, being able to run fast and have the opportunity for that.
Yeah, no, I would do it if if the situation presented itself. Let's talk a little bit more about the car. So I'm sure you're building, You build the engines then? What kind of transmission, torque converter, things like that? What else is in this car?
The car was originally built by East Texas Race Cars. Vic Custer built the car back in the late 80s. It's got a Cohen transmission in it with an ATI converter. Our in-house engine is in it. The boys here, Aaron and the boys, really do all the work on the stuff. I do very little here today other than just gripe at them. So, but it's been fun, to do this with Aaron and I never intended, just you guys, I never intended on running for a championship. It was a deal where Aaron's been the one pushing for me to come out and race, and he goes, "Hey, old man, you're too good just be sitting around watching and helping everybody." He goes, "Let's get you back in the car." And I've enjoyed it, racing with everybody, but I also enjoy helping everybody else.
Maybe it was just a convenient way to get you out of the shop more often.
I think that's his master plan, is to keep me away from them.
Hey, this would be a really great idea. Just leave a week early. You want to rest up and get a feel for the place.
Yeah, that's definitely his. He when Aaron started racing, I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna hang my helmet up and just help him and help. We got a pretty close knit team here with Craig and Tim Snively, Arthur Cohn, Stephen Bell, everybody that's we got our little guys we hang out with. And, it's been cool to see each one of them be able to hold a Wally. So that's been big.
We have a good story about you and Craig Galtieri, who had a really nice, blue Cavalier, I think it was. And he crashed at Dallas, and you two would have met in the final. And, you ended up winning that race. You split the Wally in half, right? You got a marker and you wrote a line down the center, and you wrote I guess your name on one side and Craig's name on the other. That was really cool. Craig even mentioned that you asked Trey Capps about potentially maybe you guys could run that final at a later time. So that was really cool too. Can you speak to that at all that day?
I did ask Trey for us to, run it at the next Lucas Oil race in our division if we could find him another car. When that whole deal went down, that we were actually, contemplating on me not racing the rest of the year, and just since Craig's car, since he wrecked. So luckily, Jeff found him a car, and we got him a car put together, but and got him back running quicker than we thought we could. And Trey would not adhere me, racing Trey or Craig at another race, for the win. So I guess once the date is done on that race, they like to close the books on it if they can. So that's what happened there.
That was a great gesture, though. So.
Craig's a great guy, and he really a new racer to the sport, and I enjoy helping him grow and get better. So that's been a blast helping him, and along with other racers. If anybody ever needs advice, my pits, or if I'm there. And if I can, help anybody, I'm there to help.
Yeah, that's what we've been told. Craig has obviously told us that your knowledge is, I know you have tons of it. They always speak highly of you and your willingness to help other racers. So now, with your son running factory stock and pro stock and top dragster too, right? Mm-hmm. Are these all engines that you are building and have to crank out for him for all three of these cars, and I guess you're helping crew on all these cars, and then you were driving at the same time, so you really you did a lot this year.
Not to say I'm a little tired after the year though, but we don't do the pro stock deal. That's pretty much just Aaron goes over there and hops in the car and drives. There's as much as Aaron has going on here with the factory showdown class and all the sportsman guys, he helps. With the amount of people we have, it would be impossible for us to try to do the pro stock as well. The elite group's done a great job on giving him a fast hot rod and keeping him competitive. So that's been a good experience for him. It's something he's always wanted to do. And that class is brutally hard, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of man time. So he is the lucky one that gets to sit in the seat and enjoy it over there.
What are your thoughts on the factory stock? Are you guys looking at building the experimental, or gonna stay out of that one?
We do have a car on order for the Factory X. I think that class is going to be a big class. I'm happy with what Lonnie and Ned has put into, trying to lift it off the ground. It's been in the makings for quite some time, and I think if they can keep the reins on it, where they keep it far as where the money doesn't rule it, which it seems like in an all-out performance class, money always seems to rise to the top. So if they can keep some of the stuff, where the cost is not getting out of control, I think it'll help. And I think the manufacturers are going to really like this, because they're going to be able to relate to their cars, the engines they have. You can buy them online. So I think there's a lot of upside to this class, in the future, as far as OEM wise. The Pro Stock deal has been great. It's sustained all these years. I'm still a Pro Stock guy by heart. But I think in today's time, I think nobody really can relate to a 500-inch motor in a car, or a Chevy motor in a Dodge car, or vice versa. I mean, and I realize the reason why they did all that stuff to try to keep the class alive. But I think what you're going to see here in this new class is, you're going to have a lot more engine builders come along and compete. A lot more drivers. It's not such a niche. I mean, you can call Ford, you can get the engine, you can call GM, you can get the engine, you can call Chrysler and get the engine. So there's a lot of different avenues that opens doors up for, other people to be able to come in and compete. I think that's the biggest thing for this thing to prosper and get bigger and be better for everybody.
Can you elaborate some on how it'll keep the price down? I guess I find that just kind of curious what your thoughts are there. What are they doing?
Just for me to give you, me to help you guys and help the public. I've raised Pro Stock, and I'm helping Aaron with his factory showdown. The cost of the engines are half the cost, literally half the cost. And with the rules that we have, they're going to keep us in a box. So, the mandate they have on the cylinder heads, the mandate they have on the blowers, the mandate they have on the products you can put inside that engine, eliminate the people with the money. In other words, the biggest banking accounts to hire the people to take it to the next, to get creative, and which I love creativity when it comes to building engines. But if you keep things in a box to where we don't have big dollars tied up in cylinder heads and big dollars tied up in shocks, and you're going to see other people want to race it. Where, just say if you guys want to come race the class, you don't have to buy $20,000 pair of shocks, or you don't have to buy these elaborate cylinder heads, or all these elaborate parts. So I think that part of it is going to help this class survive.
Well, Greg, can you speak on, all right, in Pro Stock, there's no Fords, okay? They kind of left. Now, I don't think Ford really backs it much, but they weren't competitive when they were there. In factory stock, Ford's, the Cobra Jet was very prevalent, and now they are going away. So in this FX class, what is it that NHRA has to do or has to not do to keep that from happening? Like you just said, they're putting Band-Aids on things. They're letting you run a Chevy and a Dodge, and they're doing things to sustain the class. But what was the root of the problem that needed to be addressed?
Well, in Pro Stock, it's hard to, everybody that pretty much ran the GM engines were, such great talent, that excelled over, the other manufacturers. The Chrysler engine, the Hemi engine, which was what the Ford had, that particular platform was a extremely high RPM engine, being a hemicyclical head, nor was a Hemi head. So that engine inherently wanted to run extremely high. So when they mandated an RPM limit, that pretty much excluded those engine platforms. And I think those rules, today, if they could be reversed, I think they would be looked at, but those guys are gone. I think the trick, Bobby, is you got to keep these guys around before they leave. And it's all about, I understand when you have different engine platforms like the Ford Coyote, which is an overhead cam, which is a superior engine, compared to the wedge style GM head, which in my opinion is probably the weakest platform of the three manufacturers. But that being said, if we have parity and we use our head, right, and we talk to the engine builders, and they have a pretty decent what I would call mathematical equation on how fast these cars. But at the end of the day, I still think they need to talk to key engine builders that build these engines to know that, hey, this is all the horsepower we have. In other words, so you need to, try to keep the parity amongst us. But the Ford Coyote engine, I think, is a great platform, and I think this new class, you're going to see more people race it. We have a customer that's going to race a Ford and support it in full. Actually, we have two customers that's going to come back and race Fords, even in the factory showdown and the factory X. So I think once we do that and we can keep the parity amongst everybody and not just drop the hammer really quick, I think it survives. And that takes communication and transparency between NHRA and the racer. That's what it's going to take for our sport to grow and live. Because the days of us having 100 pro stock cars or 40, are gone, because it's just not there. But if we can get the OEMs involved, and I think these younger generation guys can relate to that. They can relate to the engines. When I've got one of these pro stock engines sitting here, and all these young guys come through here, they don't have a clue what they're looking at. But when they look at that Coyote engine over there, they're going, wow, that's what's in my Mustang, So I think it's going to take that, Bobby, for this to prosper. And I've been pushing hard, just you guys behind the scenes, to get this off the ground.
Okay, so then my next question was going to be: has NHRA been consulting people like yourself? And when they created this class, it sounds like they consulted engine builders then.
I feel like they have. I've talked to them a lot. I'm not going to be say the one I wrote the rules, but I've just given my input, and I think they've listened to a lot of different racers on inputs, on how they want to try to construct this class and get the manufacturers involved. And I mean, I think that the great theory behind this, and a lot of people don't want to see the electric cars coming, but they can take the same chassis and put the electric motors in these chassis, because they'll be light enough, and they have to be safe enough. That's going to come at some point. I don't know when, because they're going to have to do a lot of work, in my opinion, to get the batteries to discharge the energy, so they don't have to have 400 batteries in these cars. That's my opinion on the studying I've done. So I think, at the end of the day, if we can bring new racers to our sport, if I can help do that, then it works.
Yeah, it sounds like so. The FX will be an exhibition this year, and then I do think there's going to be an electric vehicle exhibition the following year, so in 2023. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is coming. I mean, just talking at PRI at the Ford Performance booth. I mean, those guys there, they were talking about it too, but they're not too happy about it coming either. But it is, and we have to embrace it and maybe try and get out in front of it. If it grows NHRA, then so be it. I mean, that's the whole point. That was the whole point of us creating this podcast, was to grow NHRA, specifically stock and super stock, but to use stock and super stock as an avenue to grow NHRA. Come and see this car show of cars doing wheelies. Everybody's heard me talk about that 100 times. And that's all why we're here. So I'm glad that you're an ambassador for it also.
You guys are doing a great job, Bobby. I enjoy watching you guys' podcast. It's pretty cool to see you guys try to help, the movement of getting more people involved and educating them on what you guys do. I mean, I think if more people can see what what you're trying to do, it's going to help the sport get bigger.
Yeah, I even saw this weekend there was a post from NHRA has actually changed some of their street classes to allow, like, for the Teslas and that stuff. So they're even trying to expand the market. I mean, they're out there. We're not going to change it. I don't want to be like the old guy. Oh, I'm never having fuel injection. You just got to keep transitioning whether we like it or not. And by opening it up and not being so inclusive, it's only going to grow everything. So, even IHRA is making changes, at some of our local tracks so they can run the Teslas and cars like that. And, even like the Demons and the Hellcats are getting fast enough now where they're kind of missing out on that street car side of things, which isn't what we do. But if we want people, most people aren't dumb enough like me and just starting stock, super stock. I mean, you got to get a taste. And if it's going down the track in your Tesla or whatever you want to call it, hey, welcome to the club.
I think it opens up doors. I'll give you a prime example. Arthur Cohn. He used to race, the Hellcats and all that stuff, street racing stuff. And once he got to a drag race, and once he's seen like the factory showdown cars and the stock and super stock, and that's what will happen when they open the doors up and let other people come in, is they'll see other opportunities. It's not just electric vehicle you can race. The internal combustion engine, I think, is going to be here for years past our time, before it's completely exited out. So I think it'll open doors up and let other people, come enjoy our sport.
And there's probably some technology. I mean, who knows I don't want to call him a geek, but the computer dork that shows up in his Tesla might have a better wheel bearing design, or might have a different component that he can bring and grow everybody in the sport. You never know where the next Stanfield's going to come from. I don't know if you'll see it.
I've been a firm believer you can learn from anybody at any time, anywhere. I mean, I learn from these young guys here in the shop every day. I don't tell them that, but I learn from them. So, and that's, I think that might open doors up for a lot of things. And a lot of people, a lot of older racers, including myself, well, I don't want an electric car. I can't hear the engine running and blah, blah, blah. But it's the fact, if we can get them in our sports, those people, they're going to see that there's other things they can race. The factory showdown, the stock eliminator. It'll bring more people to our sport. There's so many different venues today, other than NHRA, and I think that's what NHRA needs to pay attention to. Is we have to take care of the people we have. We need to be transparent. We need to listen and work with them.
I think it would be great if Tesla got involved, though. I mean, talk about an egomaniac like Elon Musk. Like, if he finds out about NHRA and how, hey, my Tesla could go up against these other EVs and I could win and just look cool and stroke my ego, why wouldn't that guy want to get involved? I mean, he's got the money, so
get your proposal together,
right,
Bobby, and get that thing to him.
Bobby, if Elon comes on, we're really changing the game. It's all us, because I guarantee Fox News has never talked about Elon coming drag racing. So the one thing we could learn from the Tesla guys, and I don't care who you are out there, everybody racing today has forgotten to unplug their battery charger. So that's what we're going to learn from Tesla. Unplug before you get in the car.
Oh, God, don't get me started on that. Yeah. But, Greg, let's go back to your race season here for a second. So you came out firing. You won a couple races. And then, if memory serves me right, didn't you take a few months off? Did you just take a long break?
Well, the agreement I have, or Aaron has with me, and he goes, Dad, look, when I'm racing the showdown class, I need your help. So a lot of times he'll be racing pro stock and the factory showdown. So that consumes him a lot, because he tunes all of his cars, his customer cars. So he's really busy. And if I can just take some of the pressure off of him as far as working with Connor and David, and keeping the cars ready where he can just basically put his tune up in it and hop in and go. So that's kind of our agreement. When he runs the showdown cars, I try not to race those races, and I really don't like racing when it's hot, so I try to race early and late.
Now that reminds me, you are from Bossier City, Louisiana, correct?
That's where I ended up. I'm an Air Force brat. My family, my dad and his brothers were all military people, and he retired here at Barksdale Air Force Base. So originally we're from Bristol, Tennessee. Bluff City, Tennessee is where our roots are from, which is right outside the racetrack at Bristol. So that's where our roots are from. But we ended up here in Bossier City when he retired from the Air Force, and all my siblings were in school. My mom said, "We're not moving. They're going to finish school, and this is where we're staying," and this is where we ended up at.
So was he a car guy or a racer, or how'd you get into it?
Absolutely. He started racing back in the late 50s, him and my uncle. So they were my heroes back in the day when I was growing up and watching them race. So they're the ones that got it started. They fought through a lot of wars, and they enjoyed working on cars when they got out of the military. So that's how it all got started.
When did you start? Do you remember?
My first time down the racetrack was 1979 when I was 14. That was my very first. Hold on one second.
I bet he's got a picture.
He's got something here.
Here you go, guys.
We got a grand tour of the office.
You're gonna get a kick out of this.
Wait,
Look at that.
you and
Wagon.
There you
Jody,
go.
Jody Lang's got.
That's Prescott, Arkansas. Yep.
What year? What model?
1980. 65 Chevelle wagon, 283 Rochester carburetor, power glide, all 13 seconds of that beast.
What did that? Was that a stock eliminator?
O stock automatic.
Oh yeah.
O stock automatic. That was the first race car I got to race. Was a station wagon. And I think, back then everybody, wanted those style of cars because of suspension. They hooked up better. So they didn't have ladder bars or slapper bars and the lead spring cars. So that's what everybody tried to race with, Chevelles and stuff like that back then.
Just a lot of steel over the rear wheel.
A lot of steel. I was a little dude in that big old car.
Did you guys go every weekend, or was it, how would you?
Let me tell you guys, if I didn't get the race every weekend, I was pouting. And he my dad made a deal with me. He goes, look, kid, if you bring home good grades and you do what we ask you to do and you stay out of trouble, we'll go racing. So that's kind of every weekend we'd be bracket racing or class racing, wherever we could go and race. I can remember, back when he raced when I was little, he'd race on a Wednesday night, a Thursday night, a Friday night, and Saturday night and Sunday. They would race 4 times back in those days at different tracks. So
well, they always say
a lot of understanding from your mom, and you said there was a family with a lot of kids, right?
A lot of kids. I have an older brother, Mike, which has been a big influence on my racing career. He's been by my side the whole time. And I have a sister that lives in Alabama, but my mother's been through this whole thing with my dad, me, and now Erin. So she's we call her Mimi. So she's the boss of the family here. She's at the shop every day, which is really cool. We keep her going.
Well, they always say as a parent, your kids magnify, whatever you are, your parents are that times 2 or 3. So that's probably why Aaron's racing 3 cars now then. So
yeah, if he could race 5, he would. Just so you guys know, on Aaron, I didn't push the racing on him when he was growing up because I wanted him to make his own decisions. So, during high school, he played sports and all that stuff, and he kept coming to the shop. And at the time, I was pro stock racing, so I was extremely busy. And my wife, she did a great job on raising those kids because a lot of times I was extremely busy. So, and he kept coming. I was like, Aaron, I said, you sure you want to do this? And he goes, give me a shot at it. So I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I held the school over him. He had to bring home straight A's. And I put pressure on him like you would be like, there's no way this kid could do this, to be able to race. And every time he'd be like, okay, here's my report card. Can I race? I was like, okay, I guess you got it, son. So that's kind of, and then just one thing led to another. And he did the same. He graduated high school early, started college, and I held the same standards through that, in college, to be able to see if he could do it, and I pulled it off. So I never had those standards. My dad was like, "Hey, kid, get out here and let's get this motor tore apart. We got a race to go to."
Did he start in juniors, or how'd that work
Aaron?
out? Yeah.
Aaron did not. He started. I got him a '98 Camaro, little LS Steel, and we just bracket raced it. Taught him how to foot brake race. I wanted him to learn how to drive manually, clutch cars. But I wanted him to understand, this is just not hop in and push a button and go. So I put him in a foot brake car and we bracket raced for a year or two, and I would actually make Aaron bracket race with the delay box guys, foot brake racing. And a cool story, we would go do these Thanksgiving races and Christmas races, the big bracket races. And one year, I think it was when he was probably 15, 16 years old, when he just started driving. And we were at Dallas, one of the big bracket races, and he was down to 8 cars. And at the time, he really didn't have a clue on who he was racing or what he was doing. And I looked down and said, "Hey, Aaron, I just want to let you know, bud, there's 7 dragsters left, and you're the only car." And he looked at me, and he goes, "Well, is that good?" I said, "Yeah, because they have delay boxes, and you're going off the bottom bulb with a foot brake, so you're doing great." So that was a cool. And then that's how I taught him how to race: is know it from front to back, understand how it all works.
how does everybody not cheer for that car? Like, I know at our little track here when I went, kind of the same thing. We're there, and there's a guy in like a Maverick with a 4-speed racing in pro. It's just like, this is cool
That is
because
incredible.
he's one of like, not only is he shifting gears and trying to, I didn't even know how crazy it was to try to make a clutch work in a freaking race car at that time, but I just thought that's pretty cool. There's an actual car out there racing the pipe racks. Like, it was just awesome.
I have the utmost respect for people that race 4-speed cars in stock and super stock. Absolutely. It is incredible what those guys do and win with it.
They're just,
I think that's you, Bobby, right? Didn't you achieve that?
I did. Thank you.
You did a great job.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
they're either just really hard workers or just really crazy. And if you go to the Holtz pit, they're both.
They go to races to have fun.
And they have fun, believe me.
They have fun, and they do really well. They got J-Rod over there. They're great people. We're proud to be associated with it. We helped Sheila with their little stock setup. They do a great job for what they have, and they're there for the friendships. You know, it's not a deal where they have to win. So they're winning just being there.
Yeah, that car is awesome. I love those cars. Everything they have is awesome, and they're just, the best part is they're just salt of the earth people, and that's really cool. You know, I don't care if you're slow or fast. You just, you know, at the end of the day, we're all good people, and they'll do anything to help anybody. And there's not too many people I've run into in the stock super stock deal that isn't that way. I mean, that's really neat.
I think that's the cool thing about the sportsman racer is we're all, at the end of the day, we race, we're all talking, we're trying to help each other. It's not, I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on the professional side and I've been on the sportsman side. I'm a sportsman racer by heart all the way through. When I got on the other side of the fence, as I call it, where you're a professional racer, that's a whole nother world, guys. It's a dog eat dog deal. And, I have very little friends that I raced against, Jason being one, Mike Everett. There's a few of them, Greg Anderson, probably one of my biggest rivals over there. And you just, you just don't have that bond you do when you have, with the stock and super stock guys. That's the part at the end of the day you'll remember.
Absolutely. Like, I'm half tempted just to take a trip down to actually go eat at Lupe Tortillas. Like, when I was in Fort Worth, I'll bet I stopped at that place 5 times, and there's always a line. And we're from Podunk, South Dakota. You don't have to wait in line like 30 minutes. I'm not waiting that long to eat. You should be able to just roll in. That place was packed. I'm like, all right, everybody talks about it. That's like on my family destination vacation list. Let's go take a trip to Lupe's,
And then you can swing on over here and we'll get you some Cajun food.
Heck yeah. I'm trying
Perfect.
to get J-Rod to come up here pheasant hunting, but he's too busy fixing all their stuff and having fun, relaxing, I think.
I think Lupe Tortilla would sound great right at the beginning of a podcast episode, don't you, Brian?
I think it would be amazing.
Boom. Sheila Holtz out there. She's saying hello.
Maybe
And she said, y'all are so sweet. We love y'all. She threw 2 y'alls in one comment right
double
there.
y'alls make it right.
I'll tell you what, they cheer. Like, I was having a down day at the US Nationals, and their pit just totally brings you back to life. Like, it totally revives your bad mood, turns into a good mood, and I'm thankful for that. So thank you, Stan and Sheila Holt.
That's the margarita machines.
Cheering me up.
It's the margaritas.
It's the margaritas. And they had pizza that day too. It was wonderful.
Aaron claims he has to have one of the margaritas to win a race.
Ooh, we could bottle that. That's maybe the Class Racing Today margarita mix by Lupe. You want to win a race like Aaron? Drink one of these.
And then after you win the race, what do you have to drink, Greg?
One of these.
Oh, you should show us that. Now, we were getting a tour earlier, and I don't think we can hold it back from the many, many listeners we have. Just pan over there and show us the Busch Latte Hall of Fame.
You got to stay hydrated, guys. Hydration is everything when it comes to racing. That's kind of a wall around some of my dad's cars. That's a rendering of the 69 Camaro he used to race that Aaron found a few years ago, and Scott Wagner is restoring it right now for us. So kind of panning around. It's kind of our break room here. So this wall here is something my brother created. I don't know if you can see it. So each race you win, you have to drink a victory bush.
Look at all those victory bushes.
A couple of them.
So
This is me in 1986 at Indy Stock Eliminator. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep, class win or
Yep.
event win.
Yep. And I actually drove for Alan Patterson one year in 1995, which was quite the experience. Glad to give me that opportunity. Thank you, Alan. 1987, I raced for the Nationwide Rod Shop team out of Columbus, Ohio. That was a great experience. Doc Dixon, Butch Leal, Dave Bortman. Dave Bortman taught me so much back then about super stock racing. He is a multi-time champion. So this is it's kind of our place where we hang out and yell at each other.
Yeah, we have to get down there, Brian. I want to see that in person.
So, Greg, I have a question for you about all the cans of beer, the empty cans. How many years was it, or how many wins was it, where that can just got crushed in celebration until someone said, "No, stop it! We got to keep those pristine."
That was Aaron. Aaron's like, "Save them! We gotta
Right.
mark them."
That's crazy.
There's probably, when you win a race and you crush the first one, I'm guessing there's another one or two around there that you could just pick up and call the victory can.
Yeah.
Cheating.
And we actually, our customers, we make them drink a beer too. So
So you're saying you have a ready supply?
yes.
Ready supply of bush and tons of water over there too, I see.
Yeah.
So fitting for every need. So Greg, what would you say was like after you took that long hiatus, then you came back? Did you have a key round or a key win? What told you, hey, I could win this thing?
I think, I don't know, it's hard to say. When Craig had that wreck there in Dallas, it wasn't even a concern. It wasn't even on my radar. And the boys around here pushed me to race. I mean, they're the ones pushing me to race. So I said, look, guys, I said, here's what I can tell you. I said, when I won championships in the past, it seems like you have to have at least 4 wins and do really well, the rest of the count. So I said, if I get 3 wins, okay, I'll agree to it, in which I didn't think I would ever do it. Of course, it happened. So that's when it all got started. And then we're like in a panic mode. Okay, where are we going to go race? Because we never had it, mapped out. We need this many races to finish it. So I would think I really had fun racing with the Emmons boys at Noble and Dallas. There was 3 races right there. And those boys are incredible people, great family. And they seem to elevate your game as good as they are. So I think after those 3 races there between Noble, Dallas, and Eastern Race, I thought maybe there was a chance, which I knew. Didn't know Joe at the same time, but I knew he was really good. And then you had Ricky Decker, a lot of great racers. So it's just, at the end of the day, you have to be the lucky one, as I call it, fortunate one, to come out on top. But when I won Bristol, that was a milestone for me, guys. I've been racing there since, I think my dad took me there in 1981, and I have never won there. I've been runner-up like umpteen times. And for me to win there, that was huge, and especially against Jeff. Jeff being the one that built this car back and racing him in the final. That was huge. I could have mic dropped it then and just left.
Well, let's talk about your runner-ups. You've said you've finished number 2 in the world a couple times in certain categories.
Yes, I finished number 2 in 1983 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, in stock eliminator to Alan Peters, the late Alan Peters. A really hard-fought battle back then, and I really didn't know at the time what I was really doing. So that was a great experience. And then we didn't get the race much, from that point on. With my dad being in the military and stuff, and once he got out and retired, then he took me more racing. So, and then I finished really fortunate in super stock to win what I've won. It seems like that's my home, that's my niche. So that's been a great class. And in competition eliminator, I think I finished second to Bo Nickens in '96. Come down to the final round at Pomona. If I won the round, I won the championship. You know, and the Nickens family, another great family. I love David, love Bo. Everybody was on the start line. They said Bo was crying, and it was a, you know, it was awesome to be a part of that. And of course, I lost by 2 thousandths.
Oh,
Lost that championship. So, you know, I've always said you gotta learn how to lose before you can win. So, and then I think in 2001 I finished second to Bob Pinella in Pro Stock Truck in the national championship, and then 2010 against Greg Anderson. So
in Pro Stock. So
yes, in Pro Stock.
wow.
Yeah, I know about seconds, and that's okay. I mean, it's as long as you know give it all you had, and that's where you come up at, and it is what it is, guys.
You just sparked my interest here. Take me back to this Pro Stock truck. I was just a kid in high school, and I didn't understand it. I thought it was dumb. I said, why do we have trucks going down the track? We have Pro Stock cars. Why do I need to watch the trucks? You know, they don't even go as fast. But what was that category about, and what happened to it? Can you give us like a little sum up?
Man, such a cool category. I mean, a lot of young racers. You know, I look back and, you know, Randy Daniels, Bob Pinella, Brad Jeter, me, Jerry Haas, all these, you know, John Lingenfelter, such great racers, and it was a fit because it wasn't, you know, a full on out 24 race season. So, you know, a lot of business people were involved, you know, in that class. And so we didn't have to run 24 races. So it really, you could have a job and still go race it. So I thought it was a stepping stone to Pro Stock, you know, kind of, you know, stepping back and looking at it. Taught me a lot, you know, you know, I never raced a 5-speed before I hopped in that deal, and just blindfold, just jumped in and says, we're going in head first and we're going to figure this out, you know. And I think that class, you know, ashamed it didn't last. I don't know why it didn't last. But I think it was definitely, in today's time, I think if they had to redo that again, they would have rethought what they did, because they lost a lot of good talent, you know, when they got rid of that class.
What was the so you had to have a 5-speed manual, and the engine size, it was small blocks, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a 358-inch small block. And at the time, Bobby, it had Ford involved. You know, Ford was involved.
Yeah.
Chrysler was involved. GM was involved. We had, you know, I know Jerry Haas worked hard on lifting that deal off the ground. And it was a magnet to me because it was a performance category, you know, and at the time, you know, I was about challenging myself. You know, I said, man, I've won 4 championships. You know, let me challenge myself. Let me go where I'm scared to go. So that's, you know, when that class came out, I was like, this is me. You know, this is where I want to be.
No, it sounds cool now. I mean, with those kind of rules, like older me is very, you know, intrigued by that 358 screamers going down the track. Yeah, I was like, these cars don't go fast. Like, they're trucks. I don't get it.
I felt like back in the day, you know, how fast we were running compared to the Pro Stock cars. I was like, you know, I looked at the Pro Stock guys. Oh, these old guys, they don't get it. You know, we're over here turning these things 10.5, 10.6. And, you know, back then, you know, nobody had Spintrons or knew anything about, you know, valve train. We're just slinging it off the head and, you know, patching up, trying to figure out how to keep this thing alive. And, you know, I kept looking at the Pro Stock guys going, man, these guys are only turning like 8,000 RPM or 9,000 RPM. We need to get over there and try that so we can, you know, because, you know, my dad always preached to me. He says, kid, he goes, the one that can turn the most RPM is going to be the one that wins. You know, so I was just on a mission. He just planted that seed in this young guy. So I'm just wide open trying to figure out how to get this thing to turn to the moon.
What did you learn? What can you share with us?
As far as back then, is you had to have the valve as light as you could have it. You know, nobody had a Spintron, and we learned that the valve spring pressure was, you know, the major key of it. In other words, you know, we learned back then by accident. We set up a spring in coal bind, you know, where the spring was like literally coal binding, and this thing would turn like 500 RPM higher. So, and it was just strictly, as you go through your career, if you live long enough and whatever you do, you learn things by mistake. And And that was a mistake we'd made. And we were like, holy cow, we just picked up 3 miles an hour. And it was just keeping the valve train under control at those engine speeds.
So I have a question, I guess, as far as how did the engine shop play into this? Like, when did you start doing that? And then
I started, my dad was, 100% military. And then he was an instructor, military police instructor. So he was basically a teacher. When he got out, he started teaching auto mechanics. So growing up, my family, my dad never believed in stepping out on your own and having a business, or he felt like you needed to, be a good citizen and either teach or go in the military. And I was like, Dad, he goes, I want to do my own deal, which he thought I was absolutely nuts, when I started this. And so I actually started out just doing cylinder heads in my dad's carport in the 80s. Literally have pictures of that, grinding on cylinder heads, and bought one of the first little super flow head flow benches back in the early 80s. So that's where I started with cylinder heads, and just one thing led to another. I wanted to understand how this engine worked. And, that's how it all got started.
Well, the crazy thing is you're still teaching. Like, it sounds just from the brief conversation we've had.
It's a different way. Totally different way. I tell Larry, I say, I'm not a good teacher, but if you listen when I talk, there'll be bits and pieces you pick up. My dad was an excellent teacher, but I'm horrible. I'll just sit here and rant along, and he'll be like, "Why'd you say that?" That's just how you got to do it.
So like the shop now, how many employees? Like, how was that? When did it really?
There's 5 guys here.
When did that really go full scale? Like, do you feel like it got carried away at some point, or?
I got to tell you guys, it's a full circle for me. So I started this out real small, and then started building engines for customers, and then got bigger, and then I fell in love with pro stock. So and then I realized that, hey, this is consuming me. If I can't give a customer 100%, I can't do it. So and my dreams were to try to want to race in pro stock. That was my goal. So I was like, I told all of my customers, I said, look, you got to give me some time. Let me live out what I want to live out. So we kind of pulled back on the customers, and we went full steam forward on pro stock. And back then, I raced with Jenkins, and I raced with Glidden. Great friends with Bob. Love Bob. I love Bob to death. I seen how he worked, and I said, that's what I got to do. I've got to outwork everybody. So that's kind of, that consumed me. So the engine side of us doing customer work stopped. And, Aaron the whole time was like, Dad, why aren't you helping everybody? And I was like, kid, these guys are outworking me. I've got to work harder, So luckily enough, I had enough sponsorship money to be able to do that for a few years. And then once I realized that Aaron wanted to get involved, and I was like, it's time for me to help people. So that's how I got back into building motors for customers.
How many do you build a year? I mean, do you have a number? Or do you still want more? Or are you pretty much tapped
right
out?
Right now, I think he's got 30 or 40 on the board.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's work ethics are and I appreciate these young guys. I said, you're never going to succeed, unless you work hard. So
what?
And Aaron working there? Yeah, Connor Statler.
Connor,
who also
Colin,
won
my brother. Yeah. My brother's here. We've got we're bringing on Dean Underwood first of the year, which is he used to work for Alan Johnson's pro stock team. So he's growing. I just preach to him, crawl before you walk, and walk before you run. So just make sure you don't leave anybody behind. If you sign on to help somebody, you follow through with it.
What? Now we're gonna dig for free advice. So
come on, I'm here.
What would be your advice to the guy out there now that's just trying to pick up some horsepower? He's can't run with the big guys, but he's growing and he's trying to get a little better. I mean, what's some basic places to look at, and virtually that's kind of universal?
Here's what I've done for people is like, so if you don't have the money, to buy the $30,000 or $40,000 engine, and you want to do this. And what I've tried to do is I'll help people, hey, let me hone your block. Let me get you a ring package. Let me help you, guide you with your cylinder heads, stuff you're doing your camshaft. Just let me help guide you in a direction that you need to head, that street you need to go down. That's what I've tried to do. Some of the guys that don't have the funding but want to run better.
So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call.
If you need to call me, call me. My phone rings all day long. They and I enjoy it, guys. When I'm at the races, everybody's like, man, how do you do it? And I was like, I'm here to give back,
Is it true that you fixed your customers' cars for them in the pits if there's a problem?
If we have to, absolutely. We will do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I heard about that, and they're like, yeah, we had a problem, and they went and got it, and like, not come fix it or show us how to fix it. Literally, the car was gone. We fixed it, got it put back together, and I'm like,
yeah, whatever if it's in our power and we can help you, we're gonna help you.
roadside service with a smile. How can you go wrong?
If it's in our power, we're gonna do it. Yep. The outcome may not be perfect for everything, but we're gonna try as hard as we can to make things where it goes down the racetrack.
Yeah, that's all you can ask.
Yeah, and there's been multiple situations where we've done that. It's the never quit attitude. You can't quit. We're not giving up.
No, I see that sometimes at the track. I see somebody's broken, loading their car in the trailer and leaving. I'm like, what are you doing? You won that round. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. Let's figure this out as quick as we can figure it out, guys. Let's it's all, rally up here and figure this out, and that's the cool part about, sportsman racing. Everybody helps everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Like you even said sportsman for sure.
Yeah. And if you ever need advice on driving, if I can help, I'm here.
Man, I wish you lived closer. Get out of there.
Get out of there.
Come up to the cold, will you?
I've always said I want to do a driving school.
Well, you should. Everybody's doing them now, right? So.
Yeah, I've always said it.
No, do an engine building school. Do a what are they called? Master course or something? You can do that. You can do that right from that chair right there.
All right, guys.
He's doing a master class while drinking Busch Light. There we go. Get a sponsor. We'll bring them in to sponsor it.
Guys, that's the nastiest beer ever.
I just remember the commercials from the 80s. It just makes me feel like a little kid again. I wish they would
my brother was a big Harvey fan, so it's that's where the Busch come from. So
all right, so we gotta lighten up the valve train as much as possible. What else? Bore the springs closer to coil bind.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a happy spot there, 70,000 coil bind sometimes is a happy number. You just want to have the pressures tailored to the camshaft, right, and the engine speeds. You don't want to overspring it, because if you overspring it, you're gonna hurt the performance. So you want just enough spring on it to do the job. That's my theory on the valve training.
What about camshafts? Like, to me, who's like, I understand how a camshaft works, but I do not understand the voodoo ways of picking. Like, simplify that. Make it sound.
Yes. So the camshaft is going to be tailored to the engine, right? So just say stock eliminator. Give an example. Just say small block or big block. That's limited to 500,000 lift or 400,000 lift, whatever that number is, right? So we know the cylinder head flows really good up until a certain point, and we're limited on lift, right? So if we're limited to 440,000 lift, the trick is you want to get that valve to 440,000 lift as quick as you can, and hold that valve open as long as you can, and then slam it shut. In the whole meantime, you got to control it with the valve spring. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think that's where I'm having issues right now. So we have to speak,
so
because I'm going through the finish line, and I've overspringed it at this point, and still, in my stock eliminator Mustang 5.0 444 lift.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it just right at the finish line, you can hear it. It's like but it's
Flatten
like
out.
like
Yeah,
it's
flatten out. You're trying to float the valves, probably.
well, it's yeah. So that's again, the heads are off again, and trying to figure this out. So
Flat tap it or
maybe getting a
roller?
set of small block Ford heads in the mail soon.
Come on. We work on all types of engines here.
With hydraulic roller lifters. But now the rules have changed in stock. I think I can switch to a solid roller, and I'm kind of entertaining that idea. But then again, new push rod, like the whole everything changes again. So I guess it depends on how much
All right.
spend here.
What about do you lock out your hydraulic rollers, or do you bottom them out, or do you lock them out?
Well, at any time you can get away from a hydraulic standpoint, do it. Right. So if you don't have the money to buy the solid, lifter or whatever, you can shim that. You can take the lifter apart, and shim it up to where it's solid. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I think that will help, increase the RPM. That's what we did, back in the day, was try to, get as much of the hydraulic part of it out of it, and have as much solid as we could have. So you can take your existing lifter and build shims for it if you can't afford, a new set of lifters.
And most of us, I mean, Joe Sherman, who I think was down there, did that. Sherman worked the hydraulic lifters for a lot of guys and trimmed them up.
Yep.
And yep, that's where I'm at. I don't want to tell. Everybody knows my combo now, but
there's no secrets in drag racing.
It's got to be interesting, like how you've watched the technology coming from the pro stock side, and now just watching people build stuff. Like, are we 10 years behind, 15 years behind? Like, how crazy is the technology kind of came from what you were doing?
I've been so blessed, to see it from the, kind of the early ages and then where it's at now. But I have not been exposed to NASCAR teams or any of that stuff. So I've had to really learn on my own, on how things work. And I think if everybody would, really just study the parts and try to understand, the mechanics of it, I think that's the part that helps people, just like Bobby's having a problem with his engine speed. Well, he's got a hydraulic lifter, over roller. Well, I think that's the green light just turned on. Now he's got direction, right, to fix his problem. But I've learned, I have not stopped learning, just so y'all know. I'm always learning. I'm always trying. And sometimes you got to get outside the box to really open your eyes up of, I was an NA guy for years. And then, when Aaron come along, Dad, I want to run top drag. I don't know nothing about nitrous. And he goes, I don't care. We're going to learn, So that opened my eyes up on how that worked. And then, he's like, let's run, let's get involved in this factory class and with the blower. So that's a whole nother learning process. So being the years I've got to do all this, it's been really cool to experience all the different stuff and how the different style engines work. What works in one platform doesn't necessarily work in another. So that's been the education on all of it.
What's the most common mistake all of us are making? Is there something there you can think of?
On building an engine?
Yeah.
Well, I think, I'm a big promoter on ring seal, because at the end of the day, this thing's a pump, right? So if you really need to focus on sealing the engine up to get the blow by where it's, manageable. And it seems like, Bobby, when you guys get the engine sealed up, the engines are happy. They're not pissed off. When these things aren't sealed up and they're oil and they're really mad. I preach to these boys every day. Look, guys, two things hurt these engines: water and oil. So you got to keep the water out of it, keep the oil out of it. So, and that goes back down to, make sure the heads don't leak and, make sure the head gaskets are sealed and making sure the engine's sealed up. You want the engine sealed up perfect with the least amount of ring tension.
Do you like the gapless rings or not?
The gapless rings work in certain applications. So, just say if you're building we're doing a tutorial class here. So if you're building your super stock engine, right? and you're allowed the gas port strongly against a gapless ring. Let the gas port do its job, right? So when you put a gapless ring in one, that builds cylinder pressure. It's artificial ring seal. It's not necessarily, it'll crutch your hone job, right? It'll crutch a lot of things that aren't right, you know. So it's just it works in different applications.
Okay, so
We
then
can talk.
in
We can
stock
talk
where
for
you're not
hours.
allowed to gas. I don't think you're allowed to gas port pistons in stock.
Not the
right?
pistons, but you're allowed to gas port the ring
Okay.
laterally. Yep.
All right. So then again, gas port the ring rather than go to the gapless. So gapless is more of a crutch in your opinion.
It works in certain applications. So if you have a block, you know, that the cylinder walls aren't stable or not staying round, you know what I mean? In certain applications, I would say if you called me today, you said, Mr. Greg, I've got aluminum block. It's got this particular sleeve in it, and this thing, you know, it's having blow by. I'm going to tell you, hey guys, let's put a gapless ring in it, and we're going to help this situation.
So when my car burns 7 quarts of oil and whatever it was, 26 passes in St. Louis for the big money raise, the classic Workman man's, I'm always talking to Mike on the phone. He's like, well, that shouldn't be hard to improve on. Like, I'm like, what the fastest I've ever went. No, it was great air, but yeah, we were a little hard on oil consumption. It was just, everybody's like, oh, if it's smoking, it's happy. I'm like, boy, I would have been a lot happier.
Mm.
That inspired me to try again, I guess.
Well, when you get yourself in certain weather conditions, like really extremely good weather conditions, it makes up for the lack of ring seal or lack of torque. You know, ring seal creates torque. It's pulling power. So in the cars that we run that are heavy, need ring seal to pull the car.
Yeah, I could expand on a lot of things that were not done correctly by engine builders.
Intake gasket leaking, valve guides leaking. You know, you just have to see where the oil's coming from, whether if it's below or above, you know, above the piston. Main thing is you want to keep the chamber as dry as you can keep it.
We'll just say there were some structural deficiencies that the assembler missed. You know, like standard bearings and a 10 under crank. There's a lot of reasons that car should not even have run. But hey, made it to the semi, so
bearing clearances are critical in my book.
yeah,
Very critical.
Greg, how about for the leaking heads? Do you have a fix for that? Special?
Yes. He's like he's ready for the fix.
The answer is yes.
Okay. So if you're at the races with a stocker and super stocker and you have a water leak in your heads, there's a stop leak called Dyke, which I could give you that information. You can post it for everybody.
How do we spell it?
I can get you a bottle. You want to hold on 1 second?
It's right next to the bush light.
We got him walking miles today. It's right next to the bush light. You can pour bush light in the in the heads.
You know, this isn't for drinking. You put it in the radiator.
See this?
Yes.
Okay, this right here is an incredible stop leak. Spring pockets, cracked heads, it works. Firm believer in it. And actually, this stuff was designed for airplanes, water-cooled airplane engines. So,
excellent. All right.
Product of the day. That will help your water leak. If you're at the races and you're in a bind, I have bottles in my trailer. I pass them out.
All right.
Jeez, they should have a sticker on the. You better have a sticker on the car.
Does it cause any long-term effects?
You do not want to put a whole bunch in it because you will have to clean the radiator out. Yeah. Okay. It will fix a stop. It will get you through the race.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's not something you want to. And it has some longevity to it. Once you just say you have a cracked runner, it does have longevity to it. It'll last for a little while.
Flush the radiator out at the end of the day.
You don't have to at the end of the day. Probably the end of the year. You just look at the circulation through the radiator. It just seems to go to the leak and it stops it. I don't know how it does it, but it definitely does.
Interesting.
It'll stop a water pump from leaking, which is incredible.
Well, that's like almost as good as the Flexi Seal stuff you see in the. You could have this.
It is. That's a hidden secret right there. I just shared a big secret.
He
We're
did.
gonna have to do an
That's why I told
infomercial.
There's no secrets in drag racing.
Not anymore.
We're trying to
drink
uncover
Busch
them one at a time.
Yeah. Well, if I can give back to you guys what I've gained, I'm all good.
You're giving back by being here today, and we appreciate that. What do you do when you're not racing, Greg? Are you a golfer, or you seem like a very calm guy? I could see you.
I do not golf. Very little fishing. I do this, guys. This is what I do. My brain never stops. You can ask my wife. She'll say, "What is wrong with you?" I'll be up at 4:00 in the morning and I'll have an idea and I'll write it down.
No, she said, "What's wrong with you?" Because you turned the lights on when to write it down.
Yeah. Like, so I'm over here. I've got the notepad out and I'm writing. She goes, "Why don't you put that in your phone?" That's why I can't see it.
That's awesome.
It was really bad when I was pro stock racing because I think the biggest thing is being driven, so you have to figure out what you're trying to chase, so and being consistent.
Give us the most embarrassing story that you can share about Aaron.
Oh God, about Aaron? Like him driving a race car?
Just the most embarrassing thing you can say out loud.
Probably. Oh boy, there's a couple of them. I'll give you a good one here.
Just shoot one out. Don't think about it too much.
He's gonna get mad at this one. He's really, when he sees this. Okay, so I'm in Charlotte running pro stock, and Aaron and my brother were running top dragster, one of his first races at a Lucas Oil Racing Division 4, and he's actually running he's running two cars, and my brother, which I told him they were crazy. So I think it's first round. He's got Strickland first round. I'm thinking maybe this story, and so he backs up from his burnout. And he's pulling forward, and on the start line, he hits the parachute button. And my brother is standing behind the car, and the parachutes go around his feet. So they said my brother was doing the two-step, trying to get off the chutes before the car took off.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was Aaron's highlight, his first top dragster race.
Oh, that should have been on video.
I know. Yeah.
Whew.
We'll have to have Aaron come on well, then Aaron can come on and give us an embarrassing story about you when we.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I've had plenty.
What's your plans for 2022?
I'm gonna help Aaron with his showdown deal and watch him race pro stock, and I don't think he's gonna run top dragster as much, because I think they're gonna focus on trying to get this new class off the ground. I think that's the plan. Man, I never intended on running for a championship this year. I never, and they're all like, oh man, you're gonna get out here and do it again. I was like, the tank is getting empty, guys. So I don't know. We're going to go have some fun, see where it goes.
You can't be that old, Greg. How old are you?
57.
Oh, you still got 30 more years of this.
If Court is still going, you can still go.
Yeah. I've won hard over the years, extremely hard. And I enjoy helping other people. It's when you drive a race car for 30 or 40 years and then you stand outside and you watch, you're like, man, this is cool out here watching, getting up on the start line and, or even getting at the finish line and watching the stock and super stock guys go at it. It's a different feeling outside watching than it is driving, because when you're driving, you're so into what you're trying to do. So you're not, it's just a different feeling outside. And especially when you're watching, your kid race. So that's been huge.
All right. So of all the customers you build motors for in stock and super stock, who does the best burnouts? Who do you hate to see them do burnouts knowing that you're going to have to do their valve springs a little sooner?
Oh, that's Craig. That's Craig. It's John Force Jr.
Oh boy. Miss Sheila's going to be trying a lot harder this year. I can see it already.
Craig. Oh, we love Craig. He does a great job. He's come a long ways, and we're proud to help him.
And he's another one. Roaster's Coffee right at the beginning of the episode.
I think we've got to get some Stanfield racing there too. We got to help Bobby get faster.
Yes. All right.
Who's going to give him the Chevy?
We might can convert him over.
I want Craig's old Chevy too, but somebody else already has it.
Todd
I'll get him one of
Gatler.
those.
Yes,
I'll get him
Todd
one of
Gatler.
those in a heartbeat.
I'd let him drive
Well-
my car, but he can't see over the steering wheel.
Yeah, I sat in it. It was tough.
He could drive Aaron's cars.
Yeah, Aaron's not. He's not that much taller than me, right?
He's like he's got his mom's side.
You know, I'm kind of disappointed in Aaron because he said he actually posted we already have a schedule planned out, so he is following this, and he didn't just come like busting through the door. So we need a little bit more embarrassing of a story. Like all of a sudden the internet shuts off, that kind of story.
I've been waiting on Aaron to come through here and say, "You got work to do, old man."
Yeah.
They,
Well,
they probably got you
we
locked
will-
in there to keep you out while they're doing what they're doing.
They do. I don't complain a whole lot. I'm a leaning post around here.
we need more of that up here in the East Coast Italian side. We're high volume and fast paced. It seems a little more relaxed down there. I think I need to change it up a bit.
Well,
Well,
awesome.
Greg, we appreciate you, leaving all the work to your son right now and joining us for the day, for the morning, and wish you luck in 2022 here with whatever you decide to do. I mean, you're probably going to sit back, really not make a plan, and then go out and, I don't know, win a world championship again just because you feel like it. But
It's
good luck with everything you
different.
do. Good luck building, the 40 engines you got. Your business is doing well. Your son won a world championship. You won a world championship.
We've
I mean,
been
everything
blessed,
is
guys.
going great for you. So we hope it
Yeah.
keeps going.
We have truly been blessed. That's for sure. Not a lot of people can enjoy doing what they're doing for a living, and we surely do.
And for the listeners out there listening, feel free to give Greg a call and see how he can help you out. And at least
If I'm at the races, if I'm ever at the races and anybody has a problem or has a question, if I can answer it, I'm here.
All right, there you have it. Always willing to help. We won't post his phone number online on the episode right now, so don't worry.
You can post Aaron's.
Don't tempt us. And tell Aaron we want to have him on eventually to talk more about factory stock and his plans for next year and the
Absolutely.
FS as well.
Anytime, guys. This has been fun, and I've enjoyed it.
All right. Well, thanks, Greg. Thanks, Brian. And Craig.
Yeah, it's Christmas is between this episode and the next, so you guys have a Merry Christmas across the board. And thanks for hanging out with us, Greg. Have a great day. Have a Happy New Year
Yes,
and
sir.
Merry Christmas. And
Merry Christmas, guys. Thank y'all.
Bobby and Brian will see the same. ClassRacingToday.com. Also, thank you for those of you that sent some stars on the Facebook feed today. We appreciate that. That's another way you can throw a little value toward the show. ClassRacingToday.com. ClassRacingToday@gmail.com. Have a great day. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will see you all on the next one.